Two people are trapped in a room with four doors. One of the doors is the door of shame, and behind each of the other three doors there is a hungry lion, a hungry tiger, and a hungry bear, respectively. Outside the door of shame, there are three more doors, one for each of the lions, the tiger, and the bear. Behind one of them is freedom, while behind the other two are booby traps that will kill anyone who enters. The prisoners have no way of knowing which door leads to which animal, nor can they see which of the doors from the outside leads to which of the three outside doors. However, they do know that if they stand outside the doors long enough, they can hear which animal is behind each of them. The prisoners can also pass notes back and forth. That's how they know there are three lions, a tiger, and a bear. If it were two lions and a tiger, they could easily agree to open the middle door together and be safe. But with three lions, they knew that no matter which door they opened first, the other would be sure to open the adjacent door and they'd both be killed. Same with the bear. They could only hope to escape with the tiger. After standing outside the doors listening intently, one of the prisoners turns to the other and says, "Hey, I heard the lion to my right growl once and then fall silent, and I heard the lion to my left growl twice and then fall silent." The other prisoner thinks for a moment. "That means," he says, "that you're standing in front of the door with the tiger. Since your right neighbor growled once and then fell silent, that must mean that he's behind a door with a lion, but not next to the other lion, or else that lion would have growled more than once. Since I'm to your left, I can safely open the door in the middle." He opens the middle door and walks through to safety. The other prisoner, realizing his mistake, quickly opens the adjacent door and runs through to safety as well. They both made it out of the room alive. Did you catch the mistake? Of course you did. You're not an idiot. This is a fairly common logic puzzle, and most people can spot the flaw in this prisoner's logic. What's that? Well, here's the thing. It's impossible to know how many times the other lion growled. Just because you couldn't hear any growls coming from the other lion doesn't mean that it didn't growl. It just means that either its growl didn't carry as far as you could hear, or that you were distracted by the other growling. Maybe you heard the other lion growl 100 times, but since the tiger growled once, you just assumed that it was the tiger. So when the other lion stayed silent, you assumed that meant it wasn't there. But what if the other lion had just taken a nap? Or maybe the tiger roared again, but you couldn't hear it over the other lion. We don't know. The point is, there's no way to know how many times the other lion actually growled. So let's go ahead and remove the tiger from the equation. Let's assume that we know for a fact that there's a lion on the right and a lion on the left. Then we know that the middle door leads to freedom, right? Not quite. Here's the thing. If you can hear the lion on your right growl once and fall silent, that doesn't necessarily mean that the lion on your right has growled once. It could have growled 1,000,000 times before you got there. And just because you couldn't hear any growls coming from the lion on your left doesn't mean that it didn't growl. Maybe the lion on your left growled 1,000,000 times, but since you were distracted by the other growling, you just assumed that it was the other lion. So when the lion on your left stayed silent, you assumed that it wasn't there. But what if the lion on your left had just taken a nap? Or maybe the lion on your right roared again, but you couldn't hear it over the lion on your left. We don't know. The point is, there's no way to know how many times the other lion actually growled. So at this point, we still can't remove the possibility that there's a lion behind the middle door. And even if there isn't, there's no way to guarantee that the person to your left won't open the adjacent door at the same time you do. In order to be absolutely sure that the middle door is safe, you would have to listen outside that door until you were sure that neither of the lions were there. And by that point, the tiger might have escaped.